right? We paid off the car notes. We got out of credit card debt. We got our expenses as low as possible. So when we went into entrepreneurship full time.
And for me, I was always the opposite, whereas like I have these big dreams, I see what other people are capable of, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get there no matter what. I see that.
I said, we're starting to build this thing, but we're building it in the worst hours available. Meaning, on the weekends, late at night, early in the mornings.
Entrepreneurship is glorified as this lone wolf, cars, money, travel in the world, like that type of thing.
I've made millions of dollars more because of my wife.
But just having the freedom to go make the choices and not gamble, but make, risk-adjusted decisions.
Your dream is your dream. It's nobody else's responsibility, so you got to bring it to fruition.
Lamar, officially welcome to the Wealth Juice podcast. Corey and I are stoked to have you today, man. We appreciate your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be on.
Absolutely, man. So today I want to talk about business coaching. And I think that's going to probably be the theme of the episode. And the reason being, I think we've discussed this in a lot of our episodes, and small business owners understand this. Throughout your whole life, you've had a coach in every aspect. If you've played sports growing up, you can almost look at your teachers as coaches to teach you, essentially how to study, how to pass exams, all that, how to become an employee. But then, you're playing rec basketball, rec football, all these things. You have a coach teaching you the game. If you go into something you never played, you have a coach. Now, a lot of us transition into the business world and we're like, where do we start? Do we join a mentorship program? Do we read these books? We listen to these podcasts? How do we implement? So that's why I wanted to bring you on the show today, man. Give the audience your expertise and just kind of peek behind the curtain on how you kind of coach people to elevate to the next level. So let's start maybe early in your journey and how you became the man you are today in the coaching space.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me. And that's a great question to start. And interestingly enough, my wife, who's my business partner, she's the COO of our company. We started as bloggers. So, working a 9 to 5, I'm sure people listening say, hey, they know all about that life, right? Working a 9 to 5, going to work every day in the DC area where I'm originally from, had an hour and a half commute to and from work every single day, would, see my kids as I'm leaving out the door, they just waking up, hug, kiss, they go into the bathroom to wash their face, brush their teeth, and I'm leaving out. Like I said, an hour and a half, from Southern Maryland into upper Northwest Washington, D.C., a crazy day, hour and a half home. And as I get home and I'm coming in, my wife had a crazy job, just as crazy as mine was. She got all 4 kids because it's taking me an hour and a half to get home. And I come in at dinner time. We go from dinner time to bath time to bedtime. And I can't really start building the business until 9, 10 o'clock at night, until 2, 3 in the morning. I'm talking about that falling asleep on the keyboard type of hustle, right? And as we did that, it was like around a blog, and the blog was around family and marriage. And we just wanted to show positive examples of marriage and parenting, right? A couple that loved each other. And we'd only been married like 2 years at the time. But as we were doing it, it was funny because all the ideas I was doing in our business were things I had essentially pitched in one way or another to the company I worked for. I worked at a TV station and ran an IT department, but they kept shooting them down because they couldn't see the vision. And they kept saying, we don't have enough people to do this. We don't have enough budget to do that. And I'm telling them, like, I'm seeing people do blogs from home in their pajamas, and we're a whole company. So I'm sure like we should be able to do some things. So again, eventually I said, hey, you know what? I'm not going, keep giving y'all my $1 million ideas. I'm going to go and build my own $1 million business. So we started with a blog. As the blog took off and blew up, right, this December 2009, over the next few years, people saw us publicly building a brand from scratch. So it went from a husband and wife in a corner of their bedroom to, hey, now we got, a couple people. Now it's not just us writing. We got freelance writers. Now we got 40 writers. Now we got an editor. Now we got a graphics person. Now we're not at home. We're in an actual office. And as they saw this, they came to us and said, hey, can you teach us how to do what you're doing? Teach us how you're making money. Teach us how to build a business. And that's how our current brand, Traffic, Sales, and Profit, was born 10 years ago.
Lamar, this is sweet, man. You were started to build a brand in the Gary Vee days when it wasn't cool to build a brand. Now everyone's building a brand, and I think maybe you made it cool, man. Who knows? But I think it's now. I think there's a little bit of like a disconnect between like, should I build a brand or should I build my business, right? Like Rye and I, we built our real estate portfolio up over the last 5 years and like built the brand alongside of it. Right now we're focused on both, but I want to talk about those days of starting this up, and like how you were able to really fit this in. I mean, it sounds like, I guess the question I'm asking is the transition between leaving the full-time work and then, hey, I really, really have something here. When did you know? Like, when did you know this was like, okay, I actually need to take the leap of faith? Or did you have enough income or more income coming in that it was like a no-brainer?
Corey, this is a great question, right? One of my clients is right in this mix now. She was asking me last night in our community group, and I was telling her, when we were making the jump, the business was not making as much money as my job, right? I had a 6-figure job. I think like a lot of times people like, I left my job. But like, yeah, you make like 20, 25 grand a year, right? Like I had like a successful career. I was, relatively young. I still was, I guess then I probably still was in like my late 20s. So I was relatively young, making good money, kind of doing what I wanted to do. And my wife had a 6-figure plus salary too. So, and we had 4 kids all in the age of 11. So it wasn't just like jump out here, a college kid doing these things. We had a family, we had a mortgage, we had 2 car notes. But I'll never forget, I was actually in Philly, right? I was doing, with our previous brand, we started doing these documentaries, and I was doing this documentary screening at an event that was happening place on the campus of Temple. And
shout out to Temple. Ryan and I went to
Temple. There we go. Right. So, in that room was another guy that was, speaking that had a wealth advisory firm, and he was doing it full time. And I was just so enamored. And I was like, how did you do it? When did you know? Like all the questions people always have. And what he told me, I'll never forget. And what he said is that everyone wants to know when is the right time, when is the perfect time, and there's never a perfect time. And as he said that, I realized that instead of me waiting for the perfect time, I had to make, my own engineered time to do it. And what that looked like for us is paying down debt, right? We paid off the car notes. We got out of credit card debt. We got our expenses as low as possible. So when we went into entrepreneurship full time, we didn't have the burden of having to make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars out of the gate, right? And again, like I said, when that initial transition happened, that also meant the money in the business was not matching the money from my paycheck. And especially after expenses from the business came out, but it was just enough to cover the bills. And what I saw, fellas, is I looked and I told my wife, if we're beginning to build this thing, it was starting to make, some money, and money was coming in. But I said, we're starting to build this thing, but we're building it in the worst hours available. Meaning, on the weekends, late at night, early in the mornings, people want to talk to us. We can't talk back because we at the job, during those hours, that type of thing. I said, if we could dedicate all of our time to it, things should take off. And that's exactly what happened once we actually made the transition, made the move. But like I said, we had prepared and stabilized a lot of things initial to that, so that we were ready to go.
Lamar, you're talking about something that's rarely talked about, and I love it. And honestly, it gives me so much confidence because we're a few steps behind you, but we did exactly what you did. Like, I haven't bought the big house yet. You know what I mean? Like, my mortgage payment is low. Ryan and I drive paid off cars. Could we afford to spend $800, $1,000 a month on a car? Yeah, we could, but we don't, because we're in this phase of the first year of really building our business, our mentorship program. The real estate has been growing, but everyone knows real estate's long term. So I love it. And it's kind of speaking to me in a way that's like, it gives me the confidence that we're doing the right things. The next thing that I want to touch on here is the actual content of this business. I find it fascinating, the marriage and family aspect, because you probably see this all the time, Lamar. Entrepreneurship is glorified as this lone wolf, cars, money, travel in the world, like that type of thing. You know what I mean? And Rye is married with a child. I just got engaged. We are going to be doing and are doing the family thing. And like, I want to be so present for my family, but that and entrepreneurship sometimes have like this like conflicting way about it. At least for men is what I've seen. And I'm just speaking from the heart here. I've seen like, go build it, like go do your thing, go chase the money. And like, but I love the family aspect of being a family man for yourself, and then also building a business and being around to actually enjoy and watch your kids grow up, which I'm sure is near and dear to Rye's heart too, because he has a 2-year-old. So talk to us about the thought process of that business and how you created a well-oiled churning machine out of it.
Hey, this is good. I don't think anybody's ever asked me this question either, because before I actually got married, my background is I worked IT. So I traveled. I probably traveled like 80, 90% of the month, was on the road, going around doing different IT contracts and such. And when I got married, like in my head, I made this like realization that, hey, you know what? I'm giving up that life on the road of traveling, of, this per diem life and all these things like that. And I'm, kind of trading it in for family and kids and X, Y, and Z. But what I later realized is that now I'm able to travel. I probably traveled just as much as we did before, but now I'm able to do it with my wife. And it's a much better situation where I thought I was giving something up, we've been married, be 20 years in September, right? It's coming up on it soon. But I thought I was giving up something 20 years ago. And instead of giving something up, what I actually got increased my life, exponentially. And when you look at that, and this is a conversation that we oftentimes don't have, especially men, I've made millions of dollars more because of my wife. And the reason I say that and what that looks like is that by nature, I am a gambler, right? I'm like I got a weird relationship with money because it's easy for me to make it. And I'll make it and I would let it all ride, right? When I was a young man, I used to be taking that trip from DC to Atlantic City on the tables, going to Vegas, right? Like I'm a gambler by heart, right? Kenny Rogers out here. But what my wife does is she's much more conservative. So she always says I stretch her in ways that she wouldn't have grown otherwise. And what she does, she actually keeps me and his family safe. Because I probably would have bet the whole farm 4 or 5 times by now, lost it all, and be trying to rebuild it. But because her and the kids actually play some things a lot safe, that actually keeps us in a much safer space. And not only that, it came a point, and not every relationship can do this, but it came a point, fellas, where I actually needed my wife into the business more to actually help it grow. So it's a great book called Rocket Fuel by a guy named Gino Wickman. And in Rocket Fuel, Gino talks about the fact that every great business as it grows needs 2 roles, a visionary and an integrator, right? So the visionary is the big vision person, the dreamer, that's me. But what I needed in the business was an integrator. And would you happen to know that my wife for 17 years worked for one company, IBM, as a project manager. So it became a time where I actually needed her to come into the business to bring her skill set to help me take the vision, break it down into actionable steps. So then we could get it out to the team and then we can run faster as a group, right? And get those things done. And for the people that say, well, you know what, my spouse, my partner may not be an integrator, or they may not be the opposite of me, and us being opposites actually helped us out a lot. What I tell people is that even if your spouse, your partner isn't in the business, they can support you in a ton of ways other than being the person, the COO, the CFO, the CMO, whatever it may be, right? If they're holding down home and they watching the kids, which allow you to just be totally free of the concept that, hey, I can go to this, real estate conference over here. I'm going to this investment thing. The whole weekend I can be locked in somewhere else. That is support. And for a lot of us, we got to get out of the thing that support looks like I'm in the office and they're in the office. Now, support can also mean I have the freedom to do what I need to do for our family at this time.
You nailed it, dude. There's a lot there. I want to unpack just because I've been married for 7 years now, so I get it. We have a 2-year-old too, so I'm all dialed in with you right now. But the one thing I want to talk about is getting on the same page. I think there's people listening. I have this pretty dialed. Seems like you do too. But I want to talk about maybe some tips you have for people that need to get on the same page. You mentioned it sounds basic, but just having the freedom to go make the choices and not gamble, but make, risk adjusted decisions for the family, and have the freedom to do that because you have your spouse's or your partner's trust. That's a big thing. My wife, she holds down base camp, dude, and just lets it go. She asks me how things are going. She'll keep me in check, make sure the ego is not too big, but also the flexibility to say, I trust you is massive. And so I just want tips and tricks that you've gone through in your journey, maybe to get the wife on the same page, or maybe she's just day one rider and it's all good. And that's why you married her. But I'm just curious.
No, that's good, man. And Ryan, you hit it on the head, right? No one can deflate your ego like a spouse, right? There are times I be doing something silly or goofy and she this is the guy. This is the guy that everybody, this is their king. They're the guy that everybody follows and wants to work with, right? But you hit on the head, and she was not naturally, hey, ride or die, let's do this thing. I mentioned in the past, we're complete opposites. So where I am a gambler, she is super conservative. Again, in 17 years, we both worked before coming to the business. In 17 years, I only did IT contracts. 3 to 6 months, somebody wanted to hire me full time, I wouldn't take it. In 17 years, she had one job. And I'm who does that in this day and age, right? But as we kind of went, and grew together, there were some things where I had to show up consistently. And that consistency allowed her to trust me. You talked about trust. And I always say that the same things that lead to a great relationship lead to a great business partnership. Right? Do you trust that person? Two of y'all work together. I mean, you got to have a level of trust between you. That mean you got to have a level of communication between you. That mean that, hey, you got to be able to get together on the same vision that this is where we want the company to go. Well, guess what? Those same things happen in a marriage and a personal relationship. So if you can get together with your spouse or partner and move in that same direction, right, you'll get them there a lot quicker. And again, like, it doesn't mean you always start that way, but how you get them that way is two things: consistency and speed to success. And consistency means I show up the same way. I do what I say I'm going to do. It's nobody that knows better that you don't do your stuff than the person you live with. And what happens a lot of times for entrepreneurs, we say, hey, you know what? I want to invest in this, $40,000 program. I want to, acquire this business. I want to, do these things. I want to go to this event, like whatever it is I want to do. And we're expecting them to fully 100% jump on board. And if they don't, then we feel like, hey, you know what? They don't support me. They're not behind me. But when they're listening to you say that this is the thing that's going to change everything, they're thinking about the other 4 or 5 times you already said that and it changed nothing. They're thinking about the time you went to the conference and didn't implement anything. Thinking about the coaching programs you joined and you never listened to the coach. They also thinking about the times you joined the gym, right? Got a trainer and you never went to the gym. You got the Peloton bike, but you never take it for a ride, right? Like all those things that, hey, like a business partner may not know because they don't see that side of our lives. Our spouses do. So when you show up consistently, you get them on board. And then my second thing is get to success as fast as possible. And this is especially important for women. When women are in the front and the women are in the business or the women are doing real estate and it's a guy in the back, right? I always tell the ladies, because what I've seen consistently with men, if the fella's not on board, is that lady can start making money. If she can blow that business up, get the real estate popping, whatever like that, and he can see success, oh, that's when that dude want to be the COO. He want business cards. he want to wear the brand, right? So sometimes, again, we just got to, like, we have the vision, but you got to manifest the vision in real life so then other people can get onto it. Because guess what? Your dream is your dream. It's nobody else's responsibility. So you got to bring it to fruition.
So that I love that you ended there. Sorry, I was going to interrupt you, but I'm glad you finished your thought. My bad. I got excited. So this theme, if you will, or the thought of a dream, right? Your dream, you can have a collective dream as a couple, right? But individually, before you ever met, you each had your own dreams, right? And so it's so interesting. Like I'm looking like it's almost like a Venn diagram. You have your wife on one side, you're on the other side, and then you have the blended dream in the middle, right? And so I think of like the blended dream as maybe starting a family, having living in a specific area together, but there's also who you want to be and reach your level of wanting to reach your level of purpose, right? So it's very interesting. Your dream has to also play into your spouse's dream in a way. It's like, so for me, just giving a little peek behind the curtain, my wife she's not an entrepreneur by heart. She does not have these big aspirations for a massive life. She's very happy she could live in the same hometown as she grew up in, right? And just loves the same friends, loves the same people, wants to be around her family. Love it. It's small time vibes. And that's amazing. And for me, I was always the opposite, whereas like I have these big dreams I see what other people are capable of, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get there no matter what. I see the big houses, I see the vacations, and like just living a different life because I know it's out there, so I want a taste of it, right? But also want to see what I'm completely capable of. So I like testing the limits and see what I can do. And so this was a very like back and forth between us. She knew as soon as we got into our relationship and dating, like, okay, this guy's a little different. He's asking these weird questions. He doesn't just want to have a 9 to 5 the rest of his life. I went out and, after college, instead of studying abroad or going right into a job, I studied away and did a program in LA and worked for ESPN briefly and just like got a taste of, I'm like running around these athletes. I'm like, this is insane. They're real. They're just people. They're not like these superstar alien things that, exist and I could never reach that. Like I can do this. And so my point of bringing all this up is behind closed doors. This is what we talk about. It's like, you have to have real conversations about what your dreams are and keep those in check. Like my wife wants stability. She wants to live in a certain area. She wanted the family. I wanted a lot of those things too, but to let her, as you mentioned, stay accountable and check those dreams off, those boxes off, it allows you the extra freedom to go make decisions for you. Now it's like most of those boxes for us are checked. So she's happy. And like, then I can focus more. Now it's like, okay, this window of my life is growth time for Ryan. Like you got to pepper in yourself and not forget about all these hours you're putting in. It's not just to support one dream. It's now you got to fulfill your purpose. And if you want to do something big, now's your time. And it's really interesting. She's been great because we've had conversations. She's like, you've helped me live out most of my dreams. And like, I'm living the life that I wanted right now. And I'm like, and she's like, are you happy? I want to make sure you're good. And it's really cool to have that feeling because sometimes even though you're going through this battle of like taking down life together, you're like, you have some days where like, do they see me? Like, do they understand what I know? Dads and guys sometimes go through this. We're trying to balance social life, growth, financial stability, protector, all these things. Yep. And then also what you want to be and who you want to become. And so to know you found the person that can check you on that and keep you in, it adds, once again, you mentioned rocket fuel, it adds gasoline to the fire and gives you the ability, like, okay, I'm on the right path, because it's a lonely battle. Even if you do have a spouse, like some days going into the game. So I just wanted to shed light to that, like behind closed doors. We all talk about this stuff. And I think not many podcasts go into what it really takes to reach the level of success. You have to be on the same page, or else someone's going to just keep holding you back, or you're going to hold the other person back. So,
and if I could add one last thing, if you can come together, right, on those pages, my wife and I always say, like, it's not even addition, right? Like 1 and 1 don't equal 2. It's like 1 and 1 is 11, because now we have someone with a shared vision, a shared dream, where and you have that support, like you said, that just frees you up to just ascend to an entirely different level that you can do on your own.
100%, man. 100%. So I want to talk about a stopgap here, actually. And I'll let Corey go into some more things, but just so I don't forget to ask this question. So you mentioned as you're going through the journey, right, and leaving the W-2 to eventually pursue this full time, there's never a right time, right? I think there's a lot of people that are exactly where you mentioned. They might have some kids. That's one thing. Maybe they don't. This isn't specifically geared towards parents. This is for the people that are making 6 figures. They have insurance. They have great insurance. They have the 401k match. They are making a nice salary, and that's predictable, right? Can you talk to people that have started a business on the side? And when, I know there's not a right time, but how did you navigate the insurance thing, right? Like, I know that's one thing in the US that's big, where it's like, wow, am I going to have to spend $2,000 every month when I don't even know where the income's going to come in from the business to be able to just support my family with health insurance? Because I think that's one of the golden handcuff rules outside of the dollars coming in that really keep people buckled down.
Yeah. So this is another great question, right? So for us, one of the things we did is we did not both leave at the same time. So this was 2 of us, right? Like, we got the benefit, like somebody's still in corporate, somebody's not. So take advantage of it. So, and I know online is so, great, and like nobody should be working for anybody. That is a lie. Because for one, if you want to build a massive company or corporation, you're going to have somebody working for you. So that I don't even like that type of language conversation. But the other thing is, like, while you are working a 9 to 5, are you taking advantage of all the benefits, right? And literally the benefits are the benefits, but in addition to the benefits, are you studying leadership? Are you watching how they document their procedures? Are you, looking at the flow structure? Are you like you basically, it's like a paid internship. If you learn everything you can and pick up, then you can then go model what you like or don't like, right, in your own company when you kind of start that off. So for us, I left first, built the company up more, and then my wife came in. But a lot of time we have clients where also what I don't want people to do is use insurance or lack of insurance as an excuse. Because we have people that like are making, 20, 30,000 a month. They're still like, ooh, I can't leave because that insurance, and I'm like get into the marketplace and just get you some insurance, right? And there's people that can pay for it, but then their mind starts to play all these games about, like if I leave, what's going to happen when I don't have access to? So get well educated, like figure out, and this goes back to what I said before, figure out how much it'll cost you for your situation, for your family. And then as you design your exit plan, create that in the exit plan when you exit corporate or whatever you're doing, right? They're like, hey, you know what? And again, I said, we didn't match the salary, but what we did is we built the business up enough so it paid the bills. But in order for it to do that, we had to be very clear financially what the bills were and how much we had to actually pay. So as you're crafting that out, like figure out, marketplace, whatever it's going to be, like how much it's going to cost you, like work towards having the business consistently sustain that and then make the move. When I talk about consistent, I always say that your business needs CPR, right? Like it's on life support. What is CPR? Consistent, predictable revenue. Consistent, predictable revenue is what's going to help you leave that 9 to 5. Because if your money is going up and down like this, you'll never feel comfortable jumping out and doing something, especially if you're taking care of more than you. So we got to get consistent. We got to get predictable, and we got to have revenue that we know coming in every month is consistent enough. And then once we go in full time, if I can add one thing, once we go in full time, I heard this somewhere, right? And I did it, I guess I went full time in the business in 2010. So it's been 15 years now. 15 years ago, I heard this. I lived by it. I wrote down on a whiteboard I had in my home office at the time, what are you doing to make money today? And every day I saw that, every day I looked at it, every day I had to get focused on making sure I was doing what I call MGAs, money generating activities. Because a lot of times, when you make the jump, you could be on social all day. Because you're on social all day don't mean that you're making money on social all day. You could be talking to people, you could be making moves, but every day I got to be doing things that are going to drive revenue back into the business and not just doing busy work. So it's something you got to be very careful about when you actually do make the jump.
I got a couple here. One, can you talk about MGAs potentially in your business? Like I'll give you an example for us. Like we're always on social media because that's where a lot of our leads come in, right? Whether it's DM, but then you get wrapped in the vortex. Sometimes you're like, well, I'm just studying up on trends and you want to make the best content. And I think that's natural, right? Because it's just, the job of Instagram and TikTok and all these things are to pull you in. And then you realize, wow, I actually spent a lot more time than I needed to today on this. And it's not an everyday occurrence, but MGAs, Corey and I are very trying to dial these layers in with our business and focus on, okay, what's a revenue generating task that I can accomplish today that's on the business, not just in the business? So maybe a little context on what you mean by those.
Yeah. And that's good. Right. And again, right. Like, as you said, the algorithm is built that once it gets its hook in you, not to let go. Like I could easily say, hey, I'm going to do a Instagram live or Facebook or YouTube live right now with the goal of, doing a call to action and getting people into our next event or to a webinar I got tomorrow night and X, Y, and Z. The next day I know I'm looking at guys like doing these calisthenics wars and they doing pull-ups on the bars. And then I'm wondering, like, can I do those pull-ups? And then it's like 45 minutes later, right? I've lost all of whatever I'm supposed to be doing. So when I talk about money generating activities, it is a few different layers of it. Number one, I could be doing some things that have like a direct return right now. So could I be pushing somebody to a free plus shipping funnel I got for a book that's going to lead to a course that's going to lead to something else? Could I be on there talking about my program? Could I be, doing a podcast interview or something with a client talking about success they had and then making an actual offer for my services or trying to push people to get on a phone call or even like doing actual sales calls, right, to close people like you mentioned before. But then there also are money generating activities that will not pay off until later. And those got to be done too, because I need right now money, but then I also need money that's going to feed the pipeline later on. So, for you guys, right, like doing the podcast could be a money generating activity where like, hey, you know what? The day we record it is not going to actually pay me, but like in the flow of me getting it out to the marketplace, I'm going to get money back from it. But again, like for people watching, you got to be able to stagger those things because if everything you do is going to have a 90-day payoff, you may not be the last 90 days. So it got to be like things that drive revenue right now, things that drive revenue later. And then as I'm doing the working on the business part and working on like, hey, you know what? How can I get my systems together? How can I get the people together? Who are the people I need in the place? Like those things are important because what most people do when they leave the job they have, and a lot of times they talk about the job they hate, and they just create a new job for themselves. And what I warn people about all the time is that, okay, you had that old 6-figure job, but your new 6-figure job, like 6 figures on your job and 6 figures in your business does not look the same. They're two drastically different things, right? I tell people, the old job you had benefits. A lot of times when people go full-time entrepreneurship, the new job, they do not. The old job, they said, like, I wanted freedom. I don't want anybody telling me what I can and can't do. They had 2 weeks of vacation. But people not really being honest because a lot of people, when they start their new business, have no vacation and they're working way more hours in the new company than they did in the old one. So, we just have to be careful that we don't just create a new job, but we create a company. And a company, like what are the things that a company has? A company has systems. A company has operations, right? In the beginning, no matter what, you're probably going to have to put more sweat equity in. But as you grow, then I want to leverage not just my time, but I want to build team to leverage other people's time and then be able to grow something beyond me so that I can be away for a week, a month, a quarter, whatever it is. And that business still operate independently of me. And when I come back, right, we haven't dropped a ball. Like people are still coming in. People are still buying stuff. They're still being sold to, and they're still being fulfilled without me having to go through everything having to go through me.
Love it. I think there's one last one I have for you, and then I'll let Corey dive in. I'm kind of hijacking some of this episode, but I just love, I'm on the same page. I'm on the very same wavelength as you right now. So you mentioned, I forget the exact verbiage you used for it, but I'm thinking MRR, like the monthly recurring revenue. You mentioned the cycles of business, right? Hey, you can't leave if some months you're at 20K, some months you're at 5, right? You have to have that baseline. Can you talk about maybe what you've seen or what you guys did for your business to get to that stable baseline, just because we're going through and we have high ticket, right? Which is awesome. You get some lump sum payments, but if you don't have that monthly recurring, then you have an amazing month. Then you have a horrible month, 1 month. And you're like, okay, at what point can we both be on the same page, right? Like Corey's operating our business full time. He left in September. I still managing the W-2. So just giving you a little bit of, we're doing the kind of the same thing you and your wife did. And you're trying to find, the perfect time to go rocket ship on this thing. And so just curious on your thoughts.
Yeah. And I'll give it to you in two different business models. In our first business, we built a blog. Originally, we were getting paid by advertisers because they wanted, access to the eyeballs we had. But what I didn't like about that and going solely that route is I felt like, of course, we're going to, do more of what gets us paid. So, we had the audience on one side and the advertisers on another side. And I felt like to make more money, we had to turn more towards the advertisers. And the more we turned towards the advertisers, the more we turned our back on our actual audience. So I had a good friend that talked about creating your own products. So we started doing ebooks, audiobooks, online courses, documentary films. And the more that we sold directly to our audience, guess what? The better we served them, the better we knew them. Because we had to figure out what the challenge was. We had to figure out who the avatar was, who were we speaking to, was the demographic data, was the psychographic data, what did they believe? What are the things they trusted in? What are the things they were afraid of? And we got a lot better at knowing and selling to them. So in that business, that was a low ticket business. And to have a low ticket business, we had to have mass audience, right? We had like 540,000 some people on Facebook, tens of thousands on other platforms. 170,000 plus on the email list. So we sold a lot of like $20, $30, $40, $50 stuff, but we would sell tens of thousands of those things. And that's how we actually generate the revenue. With the second business, right, we had a chance to kind of start from scratch with Traffic Sales and Profit, the brand we run now. We actually sold the other brand in 2022, a few years ago. So with Traffic Sales and Profit, we've been doing for the last 10 years. Now I said, hey, you know what? We want to build a high ticket model, right? It was around business, right? So very similar like coaching model where we got everything from lower ticket programs, right? Like $99 a month to get in, get access XYZ to like our kind of flagship programs like $30,000 a year. And then we got like a top tier program is like $75,000. Companies doing like over $1 million or more per year. As we built that out, what we learned, right? And a lot of people selling high ticket know this. Some people don't tell you. High ticket can be feast or famine. High ticket can be like, hey, I did $100,000 a day, right? $100,000 a week, $1 million a month. But then you always got to have people come to the pipeline because that money dries up. So I tell people, if you don't have a strong pipeline, right? While I'm cool with going high ticket first, because hey, the easiest thing you could do is sell one person, one thing, get a lot of money from it and be able to live off of it. To sell low ticket, you got to have volume, which means you got to have a big community, a big list, or you got to run a lot of ads. So I'm cool with doing high ticket. But as we're doing high ticket, we got to make sure we got a consistent pipeline of people coming through so that we always have new people getting on board. We do, right? A lot of our people, when they do high ticket, do payment plans. So essentially, we logistically, even though it's not exactly the same, we treat those payment plans almost like monthly recurring revenue. Because most of our people stay on for multiple years, even though it's a 12-month program, they stay on for multiple years. So that revenue is pretty much locked in. All we got to do is make sure it comes through. All we got to do is make sure we serve them. We make them money. They pay us with the money that we make them, if that makes sense. But then if anybody sells high ticket and they're worried about it, I got a concept I call halo, right? And I say your halo protects you in the business from bad things happening. When I talk about a halo, I talk about having high and low ticket offers. Because most people tell us you only can do one, you only can do the other. Most people tell you that have never done the other one, right? We made millions in low ticket. We made millions in high ticket. One is not better than the other. They're just different, right? So I say, like, if you want complete security, can you build out a model that has high ticket, but still has some type of recurring lower ticket inside of it so that every day when you get up, right, that low ticket can at the base cover your ad spend, right? Every month you get up, right, as you grow it, can that low ticket cover your operational costs? Like if it's covering some of the things, just like I said, day one, every month, month in and month out, all you got to do is fulfill. It makes it way easier than to hunt the bigger ticket clients and bigger ticket offers.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, Lamar. I want to ask you about, we didn't really, probably should have asked this earlier in the episode, but about Traffic Sales and Profit, like what you're working on right now. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit in that what you were just saying, but Talk to us about like who specifically you're targeting to help. It sounds like you're working hands-on with business owners that are looking to scale their business. Is this dependent on the type of business that they're working on? Like, what is the offer for $30,000 a year versus, you mentioned over $1 million at 75? Like, who do you feel like you can best serve in the business that you're running?
Yeah, great question, right? So businesses of different sizes need different things. So like I said, we got like a low ticket that's for people like just starting out. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to go. I don't know what to sell, like that type of thing. But our core flagship program, which is a 12-month mastermind, is really built for companies that are, a lot of times in that low six-figure range, trying to get to 7. And, always say, like, for the companies under 6 figures, it's all about product market fit. Like, what do I sell? How do I sell it? Who do I sell it to? Once they get over that $100,000 mark, they get like pretty decent at what do they sell. But then there's 2 things they run into. I need more people to sell it to, right? I need more people that when they see my stuff, they actually buy the stuff. So they got to get better conversions. Once you get better conversions, in most time that happens around like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 plus. Once you get better around conversions, then it's all about expansion. And what expansion looks like is I have to expand internally, because once I get over $500,000 and more, a lot of times I got to start building on team. And it's easy for me to do my thing alone. But as I'm growing, if I don't bring on team, now the quality of my service or product gets degraded. And I'm used to everybody saying how great it was. But guess what? Now it's not great because I can't do all the things. So we got to expand it internally with team. But then we also have to expand externally. And again, that's by getting access to new audiences. If I'm not advertising, to advertise. If I'm advertising, to maybe scale up and see how I can advertise more or advertise in different lanes. I need to pick new audiences. I might need to partner and JV with other people, but I got to get access to more people to be able to grow this thing and push beyond what it is. Cause I'm getting like, I'm over $500,000, getting real clarity on how to sell. I'm getting good at it. I just got to get, access to do more of it. And then, our high tier program companies doing over $1 million and above. Those companies, a lot of times I see once they get over $1 million, $2 million, they know how to sell. They got the selling part dialed in. One of the biggest issues and blind spots for most bootstrap entrepreneurs at that level is leadership. Because at that point, they go from having a team that they manage to now I'm starting to build a team of teams. And what's interesting at that level, right? Because like the money's coming in, but now I need all of these people to get a hold of my vision, get a hold of the mission, and be able to march in the same direction I'm marching in to have a level of success that we haven't had before. And what's even more interesting is now I'm dealing with entrepreneurs sometimes that have never had jobs. And when I think about where I learned to be a leader, a lot of my leadership came from me modeling other people that led me. But what happens if you never worked anywhere where you didn't have a manager? What happened if you just been, like hustling out there like your whole life and like you don't have anybody to model under, like you don't have formal training, right? Of like what that looks like. So at that level, like a lot of it is leadership, a lot of it is educating, not just the executive, but in starting that also we do a lot. We want to educate their teams and take some of the load off of them to like, hey, let us train your people. Let us help make your people better. So then they can support you, support the vision and what you want to do.
So quick one for you here. So you mentioned a bunch of different levels or layers to the entrepreneurial game and income levels, if you will, right? Yeah. Have you found a sweet spot with any of your clients, or maybe just as you've navigated your journey on income level? A lot of people tell us, or a lot of people in our space, like, hey, once you get to that, net number of 30K each, you're living a different lifestyle, man. You're pretty comfortable, at least where today's dollar is. Yes. My thought here is Corey and I are scaling this thing. However, at some point, I don't think we want to run a business where we have to manage all these people and put a massive team together. Lean and mean is kind of what we're thinking, only purely based on having not done the other thing. And I just don't really like managing other people personally. I do tend to have the lone wolf mentality. Never was a really good group project guy. So I'm just like, give me the thing, let me go do it. And maybe it's just too hard-nosed, stubborn. And I know I need to get better at that, but maybe just give us a little, peek behind the curtain on this. I'm so curious if you found a sweet spot where it's like, you don't have to give all your money away to pay employees. You can keep it yourselves and run it lean and mean.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a few numbers I want people to keep in mind, right? Most of the time, what I say is the business needs to be doing between 300,000 and 500,000 per year to be safe. And when I say safe, what I mean is that as I talk to a lot of bootstrap entrepreneurs, like, hey, what's the financial goal? How much money you want to make? When they're just working and they're like, hey, I want a business, like the first thing a lot of them say, top of mind is I want a 6-figure business. But with most 6-figure businesses, you back right to what I said before, is you don't really have a business, you have a job. But what happens is that I always tell people, if you haven't had a bad year, you haven't been in business long enough. And in 2023, 2024 was a tough year for a lot of different companies I saw, small businesses. And what happened is companies that were making 20 million, like slid down to 15, 15 slid down to 10, $8, $9, $10 million business slid down to the low 7 figures. Companies that's making 500,000, 600,000 may slide down to 1 or 200. Companies that make 100,000, when they get hit and they get punched in the gut, they fall out of business and that person's back to work. So do just sustain yourself, right? And be able to take a punch and still be there, right? I want you to have not I want to get to 100,000, I want to get to, 3, 4, 5. Now, the thing that's dangerous, fellas, when people get around that 300, 400, 500,000, they doing 30K, 50K, 80K a month, right? 100K a month. The problem that stops a lot of them from growing beyond that is comfort. And you talked about it, but you got to talk about it a different way. And what comfort looks like is, I don't have my dream house, but I got a nice house. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not the house we were living in a few years ago. I don't have my dream car. Like I might have wanted the McLaren, but I got a Corvette. You know what I mean? In a lot of the hustle and the work and the effort you put in to get to that first level, you just living a different life at that point, right? And it's not your dream life, but it ain't a tough life either. Right. And you like, hey, I can get used to this. And at that level, it doesn't require a lot of team, a lot of people, a lot of the other things. So the question becomes, how big do you want to build it? And the question becomes it's a real honest conversation you got to have with yourself. Like, how big is the vision really? And what is the vision about? Is the vision about, hey, and I tell people everybody's answer is different. So the vision can be hey, I just want to build something cool where hey, we can just kind of float across. We're good. My family's good and we're straight. Some people say, hey, I want to impact people. I tell them, well, if you want to impact people, the more money you make, the more impact you have. It's no other way around it, right? If you got 500,000 and you got somebody with 5 million, the 5 million person can have way more impact than the 500,000, and the 50 million person can have way more impact than the 5 million person, right? So you got to figure out what you really want and then what to go after. And then the last thing, right? I'm going to challenge you directly on something you said. The last thing I would say is this, right? Because a lot of people yo, I don't want to. Managing people is what stops a lot of people from growing big businesses. Because, and I'm be real, right? Again, when I talk about them companies that get over 7, they good at making money. What they not good at is the drama that comes with employees. But when I hear people say hey, you know what? I don't really want to manage people, so I'm going to grow it. What I would tell you is that it's valid that you may not want to manage those people, but out there is somebody that is. And it's somebody that loves to manage people. So at that level, your job becomes, hey, not that I want to manage a whole bunch of people, but let me put in systems and people in place so that I got people that love managing people, and I got systems to make sure they actually, go and they roll and they execute at the level of my expectations. So with me, right, this is one of the main things missing in a lot of businesses. Business owners come in and say, I'm tired of doing stuff, and they help. They hire technicians, people that directly do the work. What they don't realize, and then they get frustrated by, is that, hey, I thought I wasn't going to be doing this work. I'm paying all this payroll, but I'm still doing work. It's just a different kind of work. And a different kind of work is now, instead of me doing the thing, I'm just answering questions about the thing all day, every day, over and over again. And I'm seeing that you're getting a big chunk of my money that I can keep for myself. So eventually I think I just might as well do it myself. Right? Mm-hmm. Very common all the time. But what they don't do is, they don't get the next level up, which is leadership. And when you have leadership, I don't directly manage the team. My leaders directly manage the team. So most of the questions go to my leaders, right? I got leaders that love to develop people. What I love to do is think and ideate and execute, right? So when I tried to go in and be like, hey, I'm going to be, all these people want to directly report to me. I'm going to be a great boss. I'm going to do all of this. I don't want to hear about you being out sick today. I don't want to hear about I don't want to hear about none of that. I just don't care, right? So what I do want though is I want them to be heard. So I had to hire somebody that does care. Hire somebody that is going to sit down with them, that's going to spend the time with them, that's going to nurture them. And then I spend time, but I spend time on, in my way. in the way I like it, so it doesn't drain me. Because if your team drains you, you won't be successful.
So I know you challenged me with this, so I'll just hit you back with where my head's at. So within our business, I look at this as almost like relationship advice, where we are so dialed in on it and we're doing the day to day, and you sometimes don't know what you need. You think you need one thing,
right?
But because we're new at running a business, you might come in and say, okay, you guys, here's your profit margins right now. Here's what you guys are doing. Bang. Here's the lever you need to pull, or here's the seat you need to fill right now. Because we don't know. We're trying to figure it out and bootstrap it every day, and every day is a different journey. So I'm wondering, is that this type of consultant that would come in? Like, who's the person that goes and dissects a business? Is this what you guys do at Traffic, Sales, and Profit in your business? Or I'm just curious generally for small business owners. I think a lot of people need this, and they can't give themselves the own advice because they're too stuck in the weeds. So maybe talk to this type of person or coach or consultant that goes in and dissects a business and says, based on where your income levels are right now here and your goals, I recommend doing this.
Yeah, you asked the right question, because for whoever it is, right, and we do some of this in our mastermind program, whatever, and consultants can do it. Whoever it is, they have to be somebody to look inside of your business, right? And I want to give like cautionary tale. Anybody listening, whenever you hear somebody automatically say, this is the next person you should hire, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because for me to tell you, if I wanted to tell y'all like who you need to hire, I would need to know what Ryan and Corey do, what your strengths and weaknesses are, what the skill sets are, right? Like my team would always tell me like, hey, Lamar, you don't have to do those trainings. But the trainings are the one thing I love to do. So the trainings are the thing that keep me moving and make it okay for all the stuff I hate to do as a CEO, but I just got to do it because it's in with the job. So you can't take away the thing that gives you the spark, right? And you got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So you need somebody, like I said, to come inside the business and say, hey, based on what you guys do, based on where you are, based on what the next challenge is, like this is the perfect person to bring in to actually make that happen. And too many times on YouTube and Instagram, you got people just throwing up org charts and saying, if you here, you need this and need that, without even knowing what the scope of the business is.
Love it. That's super, super helpful. Last question for me, and then I'll let Corey go. So I've been studying this a lot recently, like the global M2 money supply and just the ebbs and flows of capital coming into the economy. Have you ever looked deeply into this or run economics on the years that are great and bad for your businesses? And the only reason I'm asking this is because you mentioned, hey, 2022, horrible year, or 2023 was amazing. And what I found is so interesting. We had a couple other gentlemen on the podcast earlier in the year, and like March and or April and May were tough for us. And then we got right back to business in June. And I'm like, does it have something to do? The tariffs were very prevalent at the time.
Yes.
Then we had the Iran thing going on. So I know people are holding money tight. I do feel like these cycles play into every layer of trust on social media and what people have for capital. So give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll say that I've been speaking in London for the last 2 or 3 years. And I was doing a keynote one time. There's another guy doing a keynote, Stephen Bartlett, right? Diary of a CEO. So Stephen Bartlett was on, and he said something I'll never forget. Stephen Bartlett said that because of technology, social media, and AI, disruption is happening faster than it ever has before. So he said things that took, 3 years to disrupt now take 3 months. Things that took 3 months take 3 weeks. Things that took 3 weeks take what? 3 days. And I think that's the cycles. Like we've been in business now like 18 years or so. Like the cycles of how fast things can go from like high to low and back, right? If you look at the stock market over the last 6 months, not even 6 years, right? The 6 months was like the worst of times and the best of times. And like you never know what the next month is going to hold. So yes, like one of the things that, we tell clients all the time is like you got to chart what's going on, not just in the industry, but in your specific business. Because a lot of times, too, entrepreneurs can be down on themselves, not realizing it has nothing to do with the business and everything to do with a normal cycle that they may go in every year around the same time. But then the other thing is you got to be surrounded by other people that do similar things. So we do conferences and workshops and things like that. So if I'm doing conferences and my conference registration is starting to slow down, I can easily start to get down on me, which entrepreneurs do all the time. Like start questioning, do you know what you're doing? Did the market shift? Did the people pass you by? Or the other people on social media doing something that you're not? But you got to be able to call up people, and I'm calling up other people doing conferences, and they telling me that their registration is slowing down. They not getting people as fast as they were. Like, then that lets you know, okay, let me take a deep breath, and then let me get focused on what's the strategy is going to help me get out of here. So, those things together is what I would look at.
You nailed it. And I just want to PSA for the small business owners that are doing this and like running ads and things, we had a solid strategy that was working for about 8 months. And then, come April, May, it dried up. Not completely, but we were like, whoa, this is a drastic difference. And you're like, hey, do we pivot our whole business model at this time? You think the world's changing. Thank God we had a conversation with the gentleman that was doing the very similar thing. Same niche, same thing. He's like, dude, I'm in the exact same boat. Our revenue numbers are almost identical. And he was, he had 10x us the year before anyways. But my point was, we made this feel so much better. We're like, okay, the world's not falling. We just need to pivot and kind of weave in a couple things at once. You mentioned the halo effect. I love that. We were very much focused on high ticket only. We're focused on MRR now too, and then maybe weaving in some low ticket, just because we have so much knowledge in the space. Like, there's not in our avatar. There's so many layers to the avatar where like they work up to what you need them to be, and they might not have the dollars right now to jump into real estate investing, but they want to get there, and so they can ladder effect up to where you want them to be eventually. So it's just such an interesting game. I love being able to pick your brain on this because we're literally living what you've gone through maybe maybe 10 years ago. So super impactful stuff. Corey, did I miss anything? I know I've been kind of hijacking the whole show.
I think the only real question that I have for you left, Lamar, would be like, what are your future goals with the business? Like, where are you trying to take your business in the next 1 to 3 years? And what are the things that you're looking at to help, fulfill the vision that you set out?
Yeah, great question. And this is a lot of what I'm telling y'all is like what we've gone through ourselves, right? So there came a time, maybe like within the last, 2 to 3 years, when I was trying to figure out, like, are we cool where we're at, right? And I'll never forget, I asked a guy that was a CEO of 9-figure plus company, and I said, like, hey, how do you know when like enough is enough? Is it just like crazy? Like, am I just like banging my head against the wall, like trying to just go? Because the funny thing about entrepreneurship is that the goal line is always moving. So you say like, I want to build a business, 250,000. Then you get there like, hold up, this feels real close to broke. So then you're like, I want to do 1 million, right? Then you're like, hold up, I thought being a millionaire meant I was rich. And this feels real regular. Like my lifestyle's the same. So as things are always moving, like how do you get to where you want to go to? And for us, one of the things I say is like you got to take 2 things: time to celebrate the wins. So when you hit those milestones that you reach, even though a lot of times like that goal line is going to move, you still celebrate that you made it there, right? And that could be for building a business. It could be, hey, I got my first investment property. Hey, I traded my first stock, got my first option. No matter what it is, like you got to celebrate the moment, because if you don't, nobody else will. And whatever feeling like you had, like when you move on to the next step, that next day, that next hour, right? Like you won't be able to recapture that back. So like that is big. And then for us, like I really, realized that, hey, I want to impact more people. Like I think what we've learned over the last 18 years of being in the business, 10 of traffic, sales, and profit, is that, we can help a lot of people in the world that have great products and great services, just don't know how to sell them, just don't know how to reach people, just don't know how to convert with them, right? And as we do that, we're literally are changing people's lives. So it's more lives we want to change on a bigger scale. If we want to have bigger impact, like I said, we need to have a bigger business that makes more money, that touches and reaches more people. And again, right, like how do we do that? Like conversations like this. Thank you guys for giving me access to the audience so we can share things like this along the path. Yeah,
I think it's awesome. I also think that, you've been in business longer than us. Ryan and I are in our early 30s, approaching our mid 30s, but I'm watching things happen with my father trying to retire. And, Ryan told me some news about a family member that's not doing so well, that's in his 60s or 70s. And I just think the growth for the sake of growth is not, it's not that we're not interested in that. It's just that celebrating those wins and making sure that if we did what we said we were going to do and we accomplished the things, that like allowing yourself to enjoy your life along the way, to me has been like even more important these days. Cause I wake up and a month goes by, and it's like you wake up 6 months goes by, you wake up a year goes by. And it's like, This whole thing is like, it's kind of fleeting. So I have kind of tailored my life to be like, hey, I really want to build an amazing business that impacts a lot of people. But I don't need to be a billionaire, and I don't think that would help me or my life become any bigger or better, because it's really about the company along the way. That's one of the things that I've really tried to stick to, even though I wake up every day and I'm like growth. I think having those breaks in between, and doesn't mean like you take a month off, but just like you think about where you're at and you celebrate the wins. If it's a dinner, if it's a 3-day trip, whatever it is, right. I think I'm glad you brought that up, because along the way of you talking, like Ryan and I have a 6-figure mentorship business already, like sometimes you just like oh, like it doesn't feel like this big thing, right? But it's like, well, we built it from scratch in a year. So, okay, like there's got to be something that's good there. And like, and I also think that I'm watching our clients and the people in our program like have success, and like that lights me up. So I just want to say, Lamar, I appreciate you coming on. We do this selfishly and unselfishly. Selfishly to talk to people that are a couple steps ahead of us. They're like, hey, I've already built the thing. Like every level of scale has a new problem. And you've just basically told us exactly that. So I appreciate you taking the time today to share that with us. If people want to learn more about you, want to learn more about, traffic sales and profit, want to work with you, like what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and figure out how they can play in your ecosystem?
Yep, I love to share. Hey, can I share one thing before I do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Because something you said was so big, and I just want to make sure everybody caught that. Everybody listening, everybody watching, the internet will have you thinking the things that you do that are special are normal, and they are not, right? The internet will have you thinking, hey, building like a 6-figure coach program 1 year, oh, it's too small because everybody else out here doing millions, when like it's like 6% of all companies ever get to $1 million. And I'll see people like get to 1 million and feel like it's not enough. I'm like, yo, you got to stop and celebrate, because 95 roughly percent of all companies in America like never actually reach there, right? But when we look on Instagram or TikTok, it feels like everybody's there. So like the internet has us so jaded in what we do. And then the other thing I just want to say real quick, it's a great book called Tax Free Wealth by a guy, I think it's Tim Wheelwright, right? And I went through a course that he had, and in the course, one of the things he said that always stuck with me, he said the model of what we use in this country is for us to work for, like this amount of time, right? Like 70 years, 60, 70 years, and enjoy this amount of time, like, 5-10 years of our life. And one thing I'll never forget this, he talked about is, instead of doing that, what if you flipped it on his head and you said, I'm going to go super hard for the next 10 years, right? Just get super disciplined, super locked in, super focused on this thing that I'm doing, right? And not have what I call fractured focus, where I'm trying to do, every single thing, but I just become like the expert in this thing, and I build it up as much as I can, so then I can live the next 50, 60 years on my terms the way I want. And I think that's what everybody should be trying to do and approach as they say, hey, let me build a business. Hey, let me generate wealth. Hey, let me invest in different assets. So again, right, we're enjoying the big part of our life, not the little part, right? Because we've been sold the lie.
I think it's amazing. And I also think that the challenge that I think people have with that I know I have, is that when you go hard for those 10 years, to shut those gears off and then to just like to enjoy, like just enjoy it after that has been a challenge. Because for the last 5 years, Ryan and I have been really going at this. And in the last year, it's been ramped up to another degree because I left my job. So I'm like, still, even in the growth phase, still trying to find times to enjoy it, because I just know that like things can happen that are so unexpected in this world. So yeah. Lamar, this has been a conversation that, when some people, as our podcast grows, we get people that come on the podcast. Some of them are hand selected, and some of them are given to us by some podcast outreachers, and you never know who you're going to get a chance to have a conversation with. And I'm just glad we crossed paths, because I think it was a breath of fresh air and just a fun convo. And I've really, even in an hour, just look up to what you've done. So I appreciate you coming on. I think it's really cool. And Ryan and I are all about building relationships with people. So that's what we do this for. So, for people that want to reach out to you, like tell them where to find you.
Yeah, I'm on all social platforms, just at Lamar Tyler, LamarTyler. And then also, if you are a business owner trying to figure out how can I grow the business, right? I do a training every month, a couple times a month, called Hidden Revenue Formula, right? I got a book and workbooks and everything along that same lane. So you go to hiddenrevenueformula.com. You can get access to a free training where I talk about how to double the revenue size of your business without new clients or without spending more on advertising. So we'd love to see everybody there. Guys, again, thank you. I enjoyed this, you probably hear people say all the time, but I really enjoyed this. One of my favorite interviews so far.
My man, thank you so much. Genuinely a breath of fresh air. We learned a lot. Thank you for the free masterclass and deep dive into us too. Made me think a little bit differently. And we appreciate you, man. Cheers to all your success, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.